Which of the following statements is true? A. Antarctica is the only continent without snakes. Or B. Garter snakes are highly venomous and deadly to humans. Keep listening to Formosa Fauna to find out. Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can learn all about the animal kingdom and become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. I'm Tristan Hildebrand, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're even remotely curious about the animal kingdom, you're in the right place. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about the new zodiac animal as we welcome in the Lunar New Year. We're also going to talk about the prairie rattler, threats to biodiversity. It's very interesting, even though it may not sound like it, and a $65,000 award to whoever knows who illegally shot a wolf in Colorado. Let's dive right in. While where I'm from, we celebrate the New Year according to the calendar year, so January 1st is the New Year. In Taiwan, many people also celebrate the New Year according to the lunar calendar. The first day of this lunar calendar begins on January 29th, 2025, which means that by the time you're listening to this, we're already in the New Year. So happy Lunar New Year. Unlike the celebration of the calendar New Year, where it pretty much ends after the first of the month, the Lunar New Year is more like a whole week of celebrations. It's also when most people travel to be with their families for the week and enjoy time off of work. The festivities typically end with the Lantern Festival on the 15th day of the lunar calendar. So while it's not the first day of this Lunar New Year, the date you're listening to this probably, we are still in the middle of our celebration. What's exciting for us here at Formosa Fauna is that each new year comes with a new animal from the zodiac. These animals are often the same across different Asian nations, including Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Singapore, Cambodia, China, and beyond. Do you know what this year's zodiac animal is? We said goodbye to the year of the dragon, which was last year's, and we are now in the year of the snake. The sequence goes in this order: rat, ox, tiger, hare or rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. So there are 12 in the cycle. Perhaps you've already heard about this cycle, as many people like to know what zodiac animal belongs to the year they were born in. Each animal is said to take on different characteristics or personalities, and therefore the people who were born in that year also are said to resemble that animal. If you were born in 1941, 1953, 1965, 1977, 1989, 2001, or 2013, you may have been born in the year of the snake. But keep in mind that the Lunar New Year calendar is slightly different, so you might want to double check what zodiac animal you have based on your birth month and date as well. The snake is regarded as intelligent, albeit enigmatic. The snake is a symbol of wisdom and wit. Snakes are the most intuitive of all the creatures in the zodiac, and their calm, extremely analytical natures allow them to easily solve complex problems that thrive under tight deadlines. They are humorous, creative, and diligent. However, they may easily become bored and can come off as overly laid back. Snakes easily become jealous and suspicious, and they tend to be materialistic and need a strong sense of security. Famous people born in the year of the snake include Abraham Lincoln, Audrey Hepburn, Muhammad Ali, Mahatma Gandhi, Charles Darwin, Picasso, Martha Stewart, Shakira, and Daniel Radcliffe. If there are any Harry Potter fans, that last one is rather interesting, isn't it? Snakes are frequently associated with the sneaky and deadly, almost like they're the villains in every story. But all around the world, we can see a more positive association with snakes and serpents as well. They are seen representing fertility, creativity, rebirth, transformation, immortality, and healing. At the beginning of this episode, I asked the question, which of the following is true? A, Antarctica is the only continent without snakes, or B, garter snakes are highly venomous and deadly to humans. If you guessed A, you were correct. Garter snakes have venom that's not very potent and generally poses minimal risk to humans. Their bites are often compared to a bee sting, causing only minor discomfort. In honor of this Lunar New Year, the year of the snake, let's learn about the prairie rattler. Known as the prairie rattler or prairie rattlesnake, this species belongs to the rattlesnake group that has about 45 species that live only in the Americas. This group name comes from the Greek krotolon, which means castanet or rattle. The snake vibrates the muscles in its tail base to shake a series of hollow, empty, bulb-shaped scales at the tail's end, which tilt and knock against each other. The prairie rattler's excellent camouflage allows it to often be heard before it's ever seen. The unsettling sound warns people or prey to stay away. Many other rattlers may slither away from confrontation or deliver a dry bite, which is one without venom, but this prairie rattler may very well hold its ground and strike with plenty of venom. It's actually one of the larger rattlesnakes with an average adult length between 110 to 130 centimeters or 45 to 53 inches, and it weighs about 250 to 350 grams or about 9 to 12 ounces. They lurk in a variety of habitats, including the rocky scree, dry prairies, sandy basins, bush, woods, hills, mountains, and farmland. Typically, they will produce a quiet, slow rattle at first, then raise their head and front body, increase in speed, and face their perceived threat. They identify approaching threats through footsteps that produce tiny vibrations, sticking out their tongues to help them taste the air, transferring airborne odor and taste particles to a sense organ in the roof of their mouths. They also have another sensory system as part of the pit viper group. A bowl-shaped depression or pit between each eye and mouth can detect infrared or heat radiation, showing the direction and size of nearby warm objects. This makes the snakes very good hunters of small mammals and birds and lets it assess whether or not to strike an intruder. And if you've ever wondered how many former tail end scales make up the rattle, they typically max out at about 8 to 12. Speaking of snakes, here's one feature in DK's The Ecology book that caught my eye as it had one example about snakes in it. It's called Save the Biosphere and You Save the World. Biodiversity is the variety of life on Earth in all forms and at every level, from genes to microbes to humans and all other species. Humans rely on biodiversity for food, fuel, shelter, medicine, beauty, and beyond. Other species need this biodiversity as well for nutrients, seed dispersal, pollination, and reproductive success. It is said that no living thing could survive without biodiversity. Scientists, ecologists specifically, have identified a growing number of threats to biodiversity, many of which are driven, surprise, by human actions. The current rate of species extinction is predicted to be 1,000 times greater than it was before the year 1800, which is when humans are thought to have begun dominating the planet. It wasn't until around 1988 that the first use of the term biodiversity appeared by the American biologist Edward O. Wilson, who is now known as the father of biodiversity. He used an acronym to highlight 5 key threats to biodiversity: HIPPO, which looks like HIPPO. The H stands for habitat destruction, I, invasive species, P, pollution, second P, human population, and O, over-harvesting by hunting and fishing. There you have it, HIPPO or HIPPO, the acronym highlighting 5 key threats to biodiversity. There are over 25,000 threatened species on the Red List of International Union for Conservation of Nature. That's IUCN. 85% of those are endangered by the loss of habitats that once supported particular species. Of course, the destruction could be due to natural causes, such as wildfires and floods, but they are more commonly due to the expansion of agricultural lands, timber harvesting, and overgrazing by livestock. Deforestation has contributed a lot to habitat loss, with around half of the world's original forests now cleared, mainly for agricultural use. Some of those habitats do not need to be destroyed or cleared out completely to be devastating to populations and species. Some of them are just broken up, creating isolated islands of habitats. This happens when people build dams, roads, buildings, or do other large-scale projects in the middle of such habitats. Such habitat fragmentation is particularly dangerous for migratory animals because they may no longer be able to find places to feed or rest where they once could. This can then result in native species and ecosystems becoming disrupted by the introduction, accidentally or deliberately, of new species. They can then threaten food supplies, carry diseases, and become predatory threats. The brown tree snake is one good example, as the snake was accidentally brought to Guam on a cargo ship and has since caused the extirpation, or the extinction of a species in a particular area, of 10 of the island's 11 native bird species. That's absolutely insurmountable. How to train your dog. In the last episode, we briefly mentioned why some dogs eat poop. In fact, it's a much more common issue than you might think. It's scientifically known as coprophagia. Oh, am I saying that correctly? coprophagia, and is specifically common in younger dogs. For this segment, I'm referring to Zach George's Guide to a Well-Behaved Dog because he's a real dog trainer. He's the professional. If you'd like to know more about why dogs would be compelled to eat feces, please refer to this segment of the last episode of Formosa Fauna because it is quite fascinating. In this segment, we're going to talk about what to do if your dog develops this very nasty behavioral issue. It requires persistence. First, it's important to check in with the vet about any potential medical reasons. Once those can be ruled out, you can start controlling your dog's environment. You can't let your dog just wander around in your yard. They will need to be leashed, as you will monitor their every move. Clean up meticulously because it's easier to break the habit of eating poop if there is none on the ground to access. Then give your dog a treat right after they go number 2 to help redirect their attention towards you and something that's appropriate to eat. This treat will also help reinforce healthy potty training habits. If you catch your dog about to take a bite, intervene with a stern "leave it" or "look at me." And once that's successful, acknowledge that good behavior by rewarding your dog with a treat. The whole process may take time, several months, but gradually wean the dog off of the leash, still under your supervision, just maybe from farther away, then wean them off of the treat giving so it's just intermittent. A key to this type of training will be getting your dog to identify the command of "leave it" as it applies to a number of household items, food, and, in this case, feces. If you have a dog that doesn't discriminate on the type of feces and may want to turn the cat's litter box into a snack tray, use the same logic by restricting access to the litter box and rewarding good behavior when they do have access. Habits are easier to form than they are to break, so this one is kind of a tough one. But certainly, it will be worth not having to face feces burps suddenly blasted at your face. Been there, smelled that. This segment of the show will teach listeners just like you how to train dogs. Starting with the basics, tune in each episode and you'll eventually be able to do just about anything as far as training goes. I don't currently live with any dogs, but find the knowledge widely applicable as I grew up with many dogs, hear of people in my circle who are struggling to train their dogs, and run into stray dogs on my way home every day in Taiwan. So if you're like me and don't currently have a way to apply these methods, there's no telling when exactly they might come in handy. In the United States, in Colorado specifically, the patriarch of the Copper Creek Wolf Pack was fatally shot towards the end of 2024. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, USFWS, FWS and other organizations are now offering over a $65,000 award for any information that could lead to the arrest and conviction of the individual or individuals responsible for the illegal killing. The injured wolf was captured on August 30th, then succumbed to a gunshot wound on September 3rd. The patriarch wolf, known as Wolf 2309-OR, was the father of 5 pups born last spring. His death is disrupting the social structure of his pack, both challenging efforts to maintain genetic diversity and ecological balance crucial for the species' recovery, while also marking a significant setback to initiatives aimed at restoring local wolf populations. The Center for Biological Diversity responded with a call for justice, offering a $15,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the responsible poacher. Added to the standing $50,000 reward from other conservation groups, as well as an undetermined amount from USFWS, whoever knows the person responsible stands to gain a significant amount just by sharing the information and potentially relative evidence. Center for Biological Diversity Southern Rockies Director Ali Henderson noted that it's common knowledge that the wolves in Colorado are protected under the Endangered Species Act and that the wolf could not lawfully be shot. She stated that gunning down the irreplaceable wolf was illegal and morally wrong. Henderson referred to the wolf as the historic Copper Creek Pack's father. Director of Education at the Wolf Conservation Center, Regan Downey, told World Animal News that the shooting and prolonged suffering and death of the Copper Creek Pack father is a crime that impacts not just his family, but all Americans who value wildlife. It is Downey's hope that USFWS and Colorado Parks and Wildlife will make an example of the poacher to clearly state to people that killing protected wolves is not tolerated in Colorado or anywhere else. As for why someone would want to shoot the wolf, especially if they weren't going to capture him afterwards, it could potentially be linked to recent complaints of dead cattle in the area. According to reports, the Copper Creek Pack was captured last August after being linked to several complaints of cattle loss. However, according to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, CPW, some ranches delayed or outright refused to implement additional non-lethal strategies that could have significantly reduced or prevented their cattle getting attacked. CPW also noted that the wolves may very well have been attracted to the property due to exposed carcasses sitting around unburied. If you or anyone you know has information regarding the wolf's death, you can contact the USFWS Wildlife Crime Hotline at 844-397-8477 from within the U.S. or email fws_tips@fws.gov. That's fws_tips@fws.gov from anywhere in the world. Have you ever had a memorable experience with an animal? Whether that be an observation at the zoo, an interaction with a wild animal, or the thousands of stories you could share as a pet owner, I'd like to hear about it. If you're a fan of snail mail, please send me letters via the post. And if you're more digital, please send me an email. That way I can read it on air to share with all of our lovely Formosa Fauna friends. It could be the simplest thing, and as long as it means something to you, it means something to me. If you're sending it in the letter, the address can be found online. Just look for the number 55 Baton Road address in Taipei, Taiwan. If you're writing an email, send that to tristan@rti.org.tw. That's TRISTAN@rti.org.tw. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. It's not gross, it's cute. Thank you for tuning in, friend. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.